Hi, welcome to Story Time. My name is Karen, and today we've got a story about some men who had been in the army, and then when they got out, they became what's called a veteran, somebody who used to be in the military service. This is from a story from the Grimm's fairy tales, but we'll start with our song first. Are you ready? Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. I'm glad to see you here. Many, many, many years ago, in a place we would now call Germany, there were many, many princedoms. Now, princedom is like a kingdom, but small. Much, much, much smaller. Very small. The ruler of a small princedom called all the men of his land together and asked who would like to become a soldier, for he had been asked to make his army bigger by the emperor. Now there were the tiny little princedoms, and then there was the emperor, who had a lot of princedoms underneath him. The emperor, Kaiser, was afraid of bigger countries, so he had asked all the little princedoms to put together big armies, and together they would be such a big army they would protect him, or so he hoped. Krieger joined the army. He was not a rich man, but he was very proud of the small princedom that he called home, and he didn't want anyone else to take it over. Krieger was given a fancy uniform and a musket, which is a kind of a gun. For a while, all the soldiers trained near the prince's castle, and it seemed like there might not be any real fighting to do. Then, one day, a messenger from the emperor came riding into the castle on a very fast horse. "Emperor Kaiser has declared war," the messenger called out, and all the soldiers were quickly called into order, and the next morning they marched off to war. For a while, the emperor won lots of battles, but after a year or more of fighting, things began to go wrong. Very wrong. Emperor Kaiser was tricked by enemy armies. His soldiers fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. Eventually, the emperor signed a treaty that said he would no longer be the emperor over many small princedoms. He could keep his palace, but he wouldn't be in charge of other princedoms anymore. And Krieger and the other soldiers were told to go home. They thought the former emperor would pay them. They thought he would pay them well for all their months of military service. But Kaiser did not care. So, all the soldiers received 3 small coins, and then they were told to walk home across the other many small princedoms until they got to their own homes. Krieger was mad. It was not fair. It was not right. It felt like a broken promise. Krieger wanted to be paid for all his work. He thought it was the least that the emperor could do. And as he traveled, Krieger made a plan. He would find a way to make Kaiser the emperor pay up. And he would make Kaiser hand over all of his money, and then Krieger would share it with his fellow soldiers. As he walked, he met 5 other former soldiers who had extraordinary talents, kind of like a superpower. None of them had been fairly paid either. Krieger told them of his plan, and they agreed to join him. The first veteran was called Starker. He was so strong that he could pull up 6 trees out of the ground all at once, and just using his hands. The second veteran was called Jaeger, and he was such a good marksman that he could shoot a fly off a twig at a tree 2 miles away. The third veteran was called Heiselluft, and when he began talking, his breath could make 7 windmills turn all at once. The fourth former soldier was called Schnell. When Schnell ran, he looked like a blur. He was so fast. To slow down, he would bend over and take off a leg. The fifth veteran to Krieger's group was called Eisen, and whenever he took off his hat, everything around him froze and turned into ice. As they traveled, they heard that Emperor Kaiser had organized a race. The winner would get to marry his daughter, Princess Kruga. The 6 veterans decided that they would go to the capital, the princedom where Emperor Kaiser lived, and enter the race. Perhaps if one of them can marry the princess, they will all be able to get lots of money from the emperor, and then they will share it with all of their fellow soldiers. When they arrived at the capital city, they heard about the rules for the race. Whoever could run the fastest to a well, pump enough water to fill a pitcher, and return to the start line without spilling any water would be the winner. The winner will be the one to marry the princess, but all who lose in the race will be tossed into the castle dungeon, never to be seen again. The 6 former soldiers talked among themselves, and they decided that Schnell will be the one to enter the race, for he is a very fast runner. The day of the race came, and Princess Kruga and Schnell lined up with their empty pitchers, and the timekeeper said, "On your marks, get set, ready, go!" And off they ran. Kruga was a very, very, very fast runner, but soon she was passed by Schnell, who left her in the dust. Schnell got to the well, pumped the handle, filled his pitcher, and was ready to turn around and go back. Princess Kruga hadn't even gotten to the well yet. Schnell began running back, but he was feeling tired, so he set down his pitcher and took a nap. Gosh, it felt good to sleep. Princess Kruga got to the well. She pumped it. She filled her pitcher with water and turned around and began to run back to the beginning. She thought it odd that she had seen no sign of Schnell on his way back. And as Princess Kruga got to a corner, who did she see but Schnell, sound asleep? And she had an idea. She snuck up on the sleeping Schnell, quietly picked up his pitcher, walked a little ways away, dumped all the water out, and then continued to run on back and finish off the race. Jaeger, who had been standing very far away, but remember, he had the great eyesight, he was the only one who saw what Kruga had done. He didn't want Schnell getting sent to the dungeon. He wanted Schnell to win the race. And if Schnell does go to the dungeon, how will any of them ever get paid by the emperor? So he raised his musket and he aimed at the rock that Schnell had been using for a pillow. He fired one shot. Bang! Ha! The rock broke into 1,000 pieces, and Schnell sat straight up. He shook his head, and he woke up, and he looked around, and he saw that his pitcher was empty. Oh no, he realized that he must have been tricked by Princess Kruga. He jumped up, ran back to the well, refilled his pitcher, and took off running. As he was getting close to the finish line, do you know what he saw? There was Princess Kruga up ahead. Who would get there first? Schnell pushed off and flew all the way to the finish line with his full jug of water. He won! Princess Kruga never imagined she was lose. Oh, was she mad? Marry a former soldier with no money? Ha! Never! Well, Emperor Kaiser loved his daughter, and seeing her so upset, he changed his mind and decided she didn't have to marry the winner of the race. But he didn't tell Schnell that. Emperor Kaiser was a very dishonest man. He decided to trick the 6 friends so that he would not have to pay any of them or any of the other veterans any money. He decided to make it so none of them would ever marry Princess Kruga. He had a very, very bad idea. Emperor Kaiser invited the 6 friends to a very fancy dinner. He said it was to celebrate Schnell and Princess Kruga getting married. He hadn't told Schnell that he wasn't going to marry Kruga yet. And the emperor had the dinner in a room that was made all out of metal. The floor was metal. The walls were metal. The ceiling was metal. He ordered a giant fire to be built underneath the room. The emperor snuck out of the room when it started to get hot, and he locked the door behind him. He wanted the friends to be cooked in that metal room just like they were in an oven. Eisen realized what was happening. And he quickly took off his hat, and the room froze, and the 6 friends were able to escape. Yay! Now, Emperor Kaiser was very angry because his plan had failed. And Princess Kurva was angry because she still didn't want to marry a poor former soldier like Schnell. Kaiser came up with another very evil plot. This time, he told Krieger he and his friends that they could each have a bag of money as heavy as they could carry. Krieger got a medium-sized bag of money. So did Jaeger and Eisen and Schnell and Heiselluft. The emperor was starting to get worried. This was far more money than he had planned to give away. When he got to Starker and gave him a medium-sized bag of money, Starker laughed. He said, "Put some more in there." And the men from the King's Bank kept bringing out more and more and more money. The bag got bigger and bigger and bigger. And Starker said, "Yeah, you can put some more in. It's not too heavy yet." And more and more. They took all the money out of the bank. There was no money left. And finally Starker said, "Yeah, this feels about right." The 6 friends left the capital city and began their walk home. When Emperor Kaiser found out that he had no money left in his bank, he was furious. He had never been so mad. And he sent his soldiers after the 6 friends to steal the money back from them. The emperor's soldiers surrounded the 6 friends. They had brought horses and wagons to carry all the money bags back to the capital. But what they didn't know about was Heiselluft's superpower. Do you know what Heiselluft did? He took a deep breath, and he started blowing at Emperor Kaiser's soldiers until they all blew over. And then their wagons blew over, and their horses blew miles away. And when they could finally get up, they ran back to the capital city and said, "We're not chasing those guys anymore." Emperor Kaiser had been tricked 3 times, and he was so embarrassed that he decided he had to let the 3 friends go home and keep all the money they had been given. He had lost his empire. He had lost his money. He had lost his army. His daughter was mad at him, and he had also lost his self-respect. Emperor Kaiser learned the hard way that a good ruler keeps his promises to his soldiers. And that is the story from the Brothers Grimm for Veterans Day. Come back and join me next week. Thanks for joining us for Storytime.